daunting then when you're essentially a newcomer and you've got quite big monsters that are around you, or is it a case of just head down and get on with it?
Yeah, just head down and get on with it. It's I've done quite a lot of racing here in the past, but on the older format of the circuit, so it just took a bit to learn the centre. But yeah, it was fine. It was fine.
Do you think you've got the time in you to overcome the 3 ahead of it?
Not the 3, no. maybe have a good race with Ashley, but I think them two are a little bit far in front.
Best of luck. We'll see you on the other side. And we've run out of time. As you can hear, the engines are roaring for the modified Fords as they head trackside. I'll throw it back to Scott in the commentary box.
Thank you, Chris Buxton in assembly, and yes, it's a series for you. It's certainly, I've got a bit of a soft spot for fast Fords, and this one's certainly going to be one of my favourite series of the weekend. This is the modified Ford series, where you've got just about any car up to about 2011 from that wants to take part that is a blue oval car originally can compete, and there is all sorts here, from old school Escorts, whether they be Mark 1s, Mark 2s, or even one of my personal favourites, the Escort Cosworth RS, all the way through to, as you see there, Ford Focuses, Fiestas, there's even Ford Pumas, there's Capris, Sierras, even the likes of, there's been a Mustang in this series, and even at the start of the season, back in May, when they were on live broadcast, even an RS200. That was Wayne Crabtree's car, which had a brilliant Subaru engine that looked like it belonged on a crazy hybrid of either Time Attack or the Pikes Peak Hill Climb. Either way, we've got some brilliant cars here. A fantastic multi-class series, literally dedicated to nothing but Ford machines of all shapes and sizes up to 2011, and there are a few classes in the mix as well. You've got Class 8, which is for all sorts of different cars, usually cars over all multi-valve forced induction engines. You've also got all forced induction dual valve engines over essentially 2 litres, and then you've got all 24 valve normally aspirated V8, V6 engines, and all V8 engines. So if you've got a V8 in one of these cars, then you will be in Class A. Class B1 is for normally aspirated multi-valve 4-cylinder engines over 2251cc and also 1600cc EcoBoost engines. You then have Class B, which is for normally aspirated multi-valve engines from about 1750cc to 2250cc, normally aspirated 4-cylinder and V6 engines over 1750cc, and forced induction cars, not dual valve cars, not exceeding essentially 2 litres. Class C is for cars that are normally aspirated, which are 1750cc or less, and also as well you have an invitation car, which is for any recognisable production Ford, and the engines are categorised as above. Year of build, engine and chassis is free. Space frame and kit cars are also allowed. So, great mix of cars in here. There's some great old school Mark 1 Escorts and Mark 2. There's a pair of Mark 1 Escorts on the front row of the grid. We'll talk you through the cars as we go through the grid. There's a couple of Sierras in here. There's an XR4i of Ashley Shell as well. You've got the couple of Sierra Sapphire Cosworths as well. There's the count them 3 of the Ford Escort WRCs on the grid as well. You've also got other cars going further back. You've got quite a few of the ST150 Mark 6 Ford Fiestas. There's a Fiesta XR2. You've also had in the series in the past, you say, Capris and so on. Let's run you through them. So Piers Graves then will start on pole position in his bright orange Ford Escort Mark 1 RSR. He's got an identical car of Jack Gadd alongside in both invitation class. Class A Ford Sierra XR4 Ashley Shellswell lines up alongside David Matthias in his Class A Sierra Sapphire Cosworth. Rob Burley should be starting in 5th, but his car's not on the grid sadly, so he'll be a lone start on the 3rd row for Paul Neville's Escort RS2000 Mark II. Another Mark II with Martin Reynolds at the wheel will start 7th alongside Stuart Day in his bright red Ford Escort RS Cosworth. Then the 5th row of the grid is Rory Joes in his Ford Focus ST, bright orange or bright pink, whichever you look at it, and Tony Paxman in his Mark 1 Ford Escort. Next up is Malcolm Wise in the 2nd of the Ford Escort Cosworths on the grid for this race. Mike Thurley alongside in his Ford Escort as well. Then it's David Guthrie's Fiesta and Alex Bowman's Ford Fiesta ST150 coming next on the 7th row. John Edwards Parton in the lone XR2 alongside another Mark II Escort with Nigel Craig at the wheel on row 8. Row 9 is James Harris in a Mark II Escort, Nigel Hutton in his Ford Sierra Sapphire Cosworth, Tim Sandu in his Fiesta ST150, another ST150 in the hands of Daniel Cowan. And we keep on going backwards to Kevin Hatfield in his Ford Puma, another Mark 1 Escort with Nick Worcester at the wheel, starts 22nd. Then we have Jason Stone in an ST150, Dominic Ryan in his ST150 Mark 6 Fiesta, and towards the back of the grid still they come. Chris Burley, another ST150, and I think another ST150 alongside that. That's Richard Sanders. think the last car on the grid should be Dave Barrett in his old school Ford Fiesta Z-Tech S. So a great mix of cars here, all sorts, and oh dear, I thought for a second that was Paul Neville's car having an issue, but that's just the cement dust that went down to clear up some of the fluid from the previous race that we had from the Caterhams. There was for those who didn't watch that race, there was a incident on the first lap that required a bit of clear up after a couple of the cars came together, which caused a red flag. But the modified Fords went the way around. It's a rolling start for these cars, so they won't line up on the grid. They've been led round by the RunYourFleet.com Jaguar BRSCC safety car. And that, of course, they'll form up in 2x2 formation, essentially as they line up on the grid. The safety car will pull in, and then the race will get underway. They'll watch the lights on the gantry. They'll go to red. When they go out, the first of three 15-minute races will get underway. This is also, to remind you, a series. There's no points to offer here. This is purely just drivers who love Ford race cars, love the blue oval, and love racing them against cars of the same make, all against each other. So the Jaguar safety car from RunYourFleet.com makes its way around leading the cars. And of course, the two Ford Escort Mark 1 RSRs, if you want to call them in inverted commas, are both invitation class, which means essentially if you're looking at an actual modified Ford Series race winner amongst those who fit within the classes, you kind of need to look back behind them if they finish in the top two. Let's take a head through the right hander. There's the cars towards the back of the grid. Dave Barrett's Z-Tech S. Then a quartet of Fiesta ST150s. I think they're just slowing the cars up on the back straight just to get them all formed up together. I mean, quite an impressive sight here they do, all together. I've got Chris Hutchinson, who's just watching this race, but he's even nodding and being impressed by the quality and the number of cars on there. And look, also see on the right hand side, wonderful to see so many spectators here, even though it's a little bit later in the afternoon, about 4:15, staying here for this race and staying here to watch on. So thank you so much. If you're watching this back, thank you very much to those watching trackside. If you're watching trackside on the live stream as well as at the circuit itself, thank you for those who are watching on and being part here. There's some wonderful looking cars. These are Escort Mark II, particularly the 27 car there, of course. That's one of the Escort Mark IIs. That's one of the Zaxby's cars with the Burton Lane sponsorship. There's the red car of Stuart Day. That's his Escort Cosworth. Got the Jose bright, essentially fluorescent pink Focus ST. And then Malcolm Wise and his quite perennial white and yellow two-tone Escort Cosworth. So the lights are out on the RunYourFleet.com safety car, and now the pack starts to form up 2x2. It's a pair of Escort Mark 1 RSRs on the front row of the grid, a pair of Sierras on the second row, the XR4i Shell as well with a 3.7 litre V6 over his right foot, as Chris alluded to. Sierra Sapphire Cosworth, Dave Matthias, and a pair of Mark II Escorts with the rig of the Mark II and the RS2000 alongside him. So stand by for some noise and some power. It's the first of 3 races this weekend for the modified Ford Series here at Snetterton. It is going to be a great run towards the start finish, the first corner. Great Jagad in the front row. The way they're going, a good start from Ashley Shellswell for the second. He tried to jump both of the Escorts on the front row down towards turn 1, but it's Piers Grange in the orange Mark 1 that turns his way into Richie's first. And Ashley Shellswell's up the inside of Jack Gadd for second. And looked like as well that Paul Neville was trying to follow him through as well. Through the right hander they go. All getting through relatively cleanly. Under brakes there, Dave Matthias tries to go around the outside to relieve the XR4i of second place if he can. Jack Gadd's still in there as well, so keep an eye out for him as they turn their way through. Magnificent sight there, mate. Here come the ST150s towards the back, and also the other Sierra Sapphire Cosworth, car number 4 in there as well, that being Nigel Hutton's Sapphire Cosworth in there. Martin Reynolds is the other Escort Mark II. That's the white, blue and yellow car that's currently sat in 5th position now, but in towards Agostini for the first time. Piers Grange leads. Ashley Shellswell in second. Dave Matthias is third. He's under threat from Jack Gadd up the inside into the hairpin. Oh, and contact behind. There was one car going off in the background. One car was going backwards into not a high speed, I don't think. He was going into the Agostini hairpin backwards. It's one of the Boomerang racing cars. Now that is car treble 2. That is David Guthrie. So he survived quite a wild ride going into the hairpin. Whether he got a tag from somebody, whether he just locked the rears and spun off onto the infield, which cost him possibly a lot of could be a potential incident. Didn't quite catch, but he's going to hold on at least to get going at the back of the field. There's the 57 car of Tony Paxman. He's chasing down the Zaxby livery Mark 1. I think that is of Mike Thurley as they come up into the complex. So, 15-minute race. Up into Brundle Nelson for the first time. It's going to be Piers Grange that leads, Shellswell second, Matthias third, Gadd fourth, and Martin Reynolds in 5th position. 6th for Paul Neville, so going through the shot there. Further back you can see Malcolm Wise, one of the splendid Ford Sierra Ford Escort RS Cosworth. Shame we haven't got Rod Burley's car in this race. That would be great to see if it was in the mix. Turn the way in through the complex, over the curves on the exit to end the first lap goes Dave Mathias, but he holds on. He's got a replica sort of Esso British Touring Car sort of number sticker on the side, as Shelswell powers his way down the pit straight, and Jack Gadd's Escort doesn't quite have the straight line speed to stay with them. Also a good straight line battle there between Stuart Day's Escort Cosworth and Jose's Focus ST. Meanwhile, there goes Martin Reynolds around the outside of Gadd. He's now going to get under threat from Paul Neville as well. The 3 Escorts going down towards the hairpin together. There goes Mathias. Here comes the trio of Escorts, and it's going to be Jack Gadd back in front. Meanwhile, this is proper turbo Ford of old versus turbo old of more modern times. To turbo Ford of modern times, get the words right, Scott, between the Escort and the Focus. It's 4-wheel drive versus front-wheel drive here. I believe it's front-wheel drive anyway. And great stuff to see both Day and Jose having a great battle so far. Tony Paxton was 9th and Mike Thurley running up the top 10. They're having their own scrap between each other for their own class honours at the moment. That's the lead in 9th and 10th between them. And they are both in B class. They were 2nd and 3rd because the top car in B class is actually, it should be Martin Reynolds, but I think he's possibly changed classes, I think, so along with Paul Neville. So because Paul is a B1, so I think Martin Reynolds is now B1 class, I think, rather than B class, which means that Paxton and Thurley, rather than scrapping what was second, would have been 2nd and 3rd in B class, is now the lead. Here's our group of ST150s having a good scrap. They're also having a battle there with Nigel Hutton's Sierra Sapphire Cosworth as they come out of the leading of those 4 appears to be Tim Sandu in car number 12. We've got Stone behind him, Dominic Ryan behind him as well, and also in there too is the Kevin Hadfield Ford Puma. I see a Ford Puma, not the only Puma you've seen so far in this series. We've had another one that has a bit more of an extreme look to it. Looks like it's got quite a large, again, it's got a body kit on it with a front splitter. Looks more akin to being like a Super GT car or a hill climb car rather than a regular standard Ford Puma. Here's the complex at corner they go. It's Dave Mathias then just holding on against Jack Gadd in the Escort Mark 1 RSR. Piers Grange continues to lead. The gap was 4/10 for second last time, but the gap has gone out to 3 seconds and a new fast lap of the race on the first proper flying lap this time. 2 minutes 4 for Piers Grange. So Shelswell still second. That's the battle for 3rd and the battle for 5th here, because here comes up the inside Martin Reynolds. It's almost kind of, well, after you, they almost kind of went side by side into Ritchie's and almost kind of looked across at each other and went, as the organising club over the winter. They are self-sufficient, they do admin and look after the engines themselves, but they have had the support of the club since they signed over the winter, and they've been a fabulous addition to the roster, so great stuff from all involved, and I think it's only going to get bigger and better and stronger for next year, with so many more cars hopefully interested and so many regulars hopefully looking to stay on and contest this fantastic series that's all about Ford machines and blue ovals and everything else. So Piers Grange continues to lead in the invitation class, ahead of actually Shelswell. Shelswell is in a bit of his space of his own, but now he's looked back to 5th and 6th between Paul Neville and Martin Reynolds. And then we see that's Rory Jose in his Focus ST. Now he's pulled away quite a lot from Stuart Day in his Escort Cosworth. He's not too, and look at pace-wise, his last lap times, if I go back to my timing screen, his last lap was a 2 minutes 14.933. Now Neville and Reynolds can lap in the 2 minutes 11, so he's got the straight line speed, but it's in the corners where he might be lacking a little bit of performance. But the car's still quick, still proving itself. There's Stuart Day, who's just, it's amazing in a nice possible way. It's not the hilarious Escort Cosworth out there. I think probably that goes to Rob Burley's, and also I'd say Dave Cockell, who's not here this weekend sadly, but he's quite probably the most powerful out of the 3 or 4 Escort Cosworth that frequent this series. Some 750 odd brake horsepower, I think, at the wheel of Dave Cockell's car when he fully turns up the boost. There's Tony Paxman with his sky blue Mark 1 Escort, and he's currently leading Class B at the moment. He's got quite a comfortable gap over Mike Thurley in second place, and third in that class is the Fiesta ST150, car number 125, and that is Daniel Cowan. He's currently third in the B class at the moment. Class leaders we should quickly allude to. Invitation class leader is the overall leader, which is Piers Grange. Class A leader is the man in second place, which is Ashley Shellswell. Class B is being led by Martin Reynolds, who's in 7th place overall, 6th place overall at the moment. So Class B is being led by Tony Paxton, who's covered that. And we've got B1 is being led by Paul Neville at the moment, ahead of Martin Reynolds. Class C is being headed by Alex Bone, ahead of John Edwards Parson, so still roughly around whether it's in the order in which they qualified. Bone ahead of Edwards Parson, but a couple of places higher. And that's it for the classes. So he's making his way down into Ockies once again. We've passed the halfway point. Malcolm Wise turns his way out of Ockies. He's currently sat at the moment in 10th position, and he's 5th in Class A. And he's got to try and pick up the next car ahead of him in the pack, some 8 seconds ahead of him, is Stuart Day's fellow Escort Cosworth. There is the beautiful Mike Thurley Zaxby livery model. Beautiful looking car that is. 11th place overall at the moment, 2nd in Class B. So he'll get a class trophy if he carries on. One cart's pulled to the pits of David Guthrie, I've seen in the background of my, at my commentary box window. He was the one that had the spin, whether he was tagged or not, up at Agostini. So whether that's a legacy of that or not, I'm not sure. Might suggest that maybe he spun on his own, and maybe it's a mechanical issue which has continued to manifest and unfortunately pulled him out of the race, which is unfortunate to see. There's his teammate Alex Bone, and he gives the name Boomerang Racing. So this car's been out in a few other different races, including in the BRSCC contests and the Club Sport Trophy a couple of times as well. So in the most positive way, that car gets around and gets in a few races as it should. Here's Piers Grange in his invitation class Ford Escort Mark 1, quite fittingly called the RSR model because it's got the big front splitter, the wider arches and the huge rear wing on the back. We're usually used to seeing Piers in a rather smartly prepared Mark 2 Escort with PRG emblazoned down the side in silver. He had a bit of a battle with Dave Cockell in the first race at Anglesey, if you remember watching one of the live streams previously back then. And a great back and forth with them. So now as they turn in through Williams, Shellswell, the gap is 4.8 seconds. It's a little bit visibly closer, I think, so I thought maybe pull the gap in a bit more. What's the lap times last time by? Shellswell was half a second quicker than Grange last time, and the best lap for Grange has been a 2 minutes 4.446. So unless Grange is just trying to maybe match the times of Shellswell a bit, just maintain the gap and make it a little bit closer towards the end. Have to keep on watching. Gadd remains in 3rd position now. Into that's 6th position. No, into 5th position now. It's gone Rory Jones. He's passed Paul Neville, so that must be just the pure straight line pace of that Ford Focus ST. He's pulling him along quite a rate. His last lap was 3 seconds quicker than Paul Neville, so in a nice way, no wonder we caught him with the pace he set. It was a 2 minutes 11 last time for Paul Neville, and his best times for the race has been just fractionally faster than that, at 2 minutes 10.962. Here's Nigel Hutton. He's having a battle in his Ford Sierra Sapphire Cosworth. That's a scrap with car 12, which is Tim Sandu, who is the highest placed ST150 at the moment. Sorry, forgive me, the ST150, I guess within his class, because the highest ST150 in the race at the moment is in fact Alex Bohm. Problems for Stuart Day, I'm afraid. The red Escort Cosworth in trouble. It's coasting through the bomb hole, which is a real shame because that was looking quite strong in the top 10. But I'm afraid that's problems for the Escort Cosworth there. It means it's going to bring it a premature end to its first day of competition. There's Dave Barrett having his own little scrap there with a couple of the ST150s. There's the leader. There's the battle for 2nd place. And just check. Piers Grange is still there. I'm worried for a second that we lost Piers Grange, but it might be just because he's picked his way through the traffic that's helped him to gain a few more seconds on the scrap for second place. And what I should mention is Tim Sandy goes very wide on the exit, using all the curb and a bit more to try and keep up with the Hutton Sierra Sapphire. But Jack Gadd has caught Ashley Shellswell through the traffic, so we'll look back at that in a second when we get a moment. Meanwhile, still watching on for these two, as Sandy then tries to look down the outside and puts Hutton under pressure. Sierra versus Fiesta, Sapphire versus ST150. And it seems as though at least on the straights that the Sapphire's got the legs on the ST150. Maybe the corners it has a bit more potency and a bit more agility. But it's got some punch in the straight line, is that Sapphire Cosworth. This has got plenty of punch and plenty more amongst anything else. Stuart Day, I can see out of my commentary box window, has brought the red Escort Cosworth to the pit lane, sadly, so that's his race prematurely done. Now for second place, this isn't prematurely done. There's still a battle to be had. There's still going to be 2 more laps to go here. So Ashley Shellswell, in the late afternoon sunshine here at Snetterton, under threat from Jack Gadd for second place overall. Shellswell still leads his class by quite a margin from Dave Mathias, who's a few seconds back, and Jack Gadd is second in the invitation class cars, so he'll still be second in that no matter what happens with his battle with Shellswell, unless he comes off worse with an issue. So Piers Grange makes his way, a bit of spice of flame on the upshift through Palmer's. Ultimate lap of the race. It's wonderful engine sounds going past the commentary box window here with the cars blast down the centre straight. That's a lap put on Kevin Hadfield in his Ford Puma. It's nice to see a Puma in the field. Now a change for second. Jack Gadd's got past Ashley Shellswell. There's been a change on for second. So the second of the 2 Escort Mark 1 RSRs has got through. A flick of oversteer of the tail there as Shellswell trying to put the power down. So that's a rear-wheel drive converted XR4i with it thumping 3.7 litre V6 under the bonnet. Now it's Jack Gadd's turn to slip past Kevin Hadfield. I thought it was a bit tight there in terms of trying to get through. There's Shellswell. It's nice to have had Ashley competing in all 3 of the meetings that we've had modified force. No, all 3 of the modified force meetings that we've had live streamed. They've also been out in action at Alton Park on a non-live streamed race day. It's a wonderful grid of some 27 cars this weekend, with a brilliant grid of 30 plus cars competing at Donington Park back in May to kick off the first race weekend of the Modified Ford Series under the BRSCC banner, as in being the organising club for them. Meanwhile, there's been a change there, we saw, between Tim Sandy and Nigel Hutton. So they've been battling over 14th and 15th place respectively on track, and Sandy's got himself through, but I imagine that Hutton, with the better straight line power advantage of the Sierra, would have probably powered past. 10 seconds to go on the clock, and that means that we are now into the last lap of this first of 3 races of the Modified Ford Series here at Snetterton this weekend. And as I suspected, just in the background there, Tim Sandy has been repassed by Nigel Hutton. There they go in the foreground, just putting a lap on the 58 car. That is the Mark 1 Escort of Nick Worcester. He's currently running 4th in Class B1. His nearest challenger for that's going to be the 13th place car, number 96, which is Nigel Craig in his Ford Escort Mark II, but he's got quite the measure of that, with Nick being a few places up in 13th. There's Piers. There goes Nick Worcester's teammate Jack Gadd in his slightly more modified invitation class car. Now actually Jack Gadd has... Okay, so Jack Gadd's really caught Piers Grange through the traffic here, so maybe this isn't totally over. I thought with 2.9 seconds that this would be an advantage. This really is going to help Piers Grange either. He's going to pick his way through the Hutton Sandu battle. Look, Jack Gadd is right there. It's going to be a battle of the 2 Escort Mark 1 RSRs. And Jack Gadd is right on his rear wing as they come up through the right-hander at Williams and onto the Bentley straight. I thought initially that Piers Grange had the margin he needed to be able to hold on to this win. He might pull away here on the straight, but getting caught up behind the back markers would have given him quite a fright there in the end. He might have thought that he was severely under pressure, and he was briefly. Piers Grange then turns his way out through Brundle into Nelson. And Jack's quite strong in the corners. He's going on the straights. He might have a bit more horsepower than Piers in the orange car, but Jack's pretty potent in going through the turns. So I imagine probably he'll get quite close on the exit, maybe through Corman and Murray's, but on the straight, Pierce should have enough to have the legs to get to the flag first. And Jack's trying. He's definitely getting close, as I predicted. Is he going up the inside line? Lock up and on the grass! Over the curve, and thankfully avoids any contact. Thank goodness that didn't happen. So Pierce Gray, despite a very late and ambitious attack from Jack Gadd, will just about hold on and will take race 1 of the weekend for the Modified Ford Series. And for second place on the line, oh, Shelswell got him! Ashley Shelswell steals second overall on the line from a recovering Jack Gadd. So not only did the move for the lead not come off and put him all over the curves, it cost them momentum and the speed on the straight to get second place. Incredible stuff. Not so incredible for Malcolm Wise, though. His car's also come to a halt, so another Escort car's in trouble. Hopefully he can get that car out for race 2 tomorrow. Through there goes Rory Jones with a brilliant 5th place in his Focus ST. Great stuff from him. Paul Neville will come through in 6th position. 7th place for Martin Reynolds. There he is in the beautiful white, yellow and blue Mark II Escort. Wonderful white body kit on that. There it goes. He comes home safe and sound in 7th place. That's good to see. Tony Paxman also putting a lap on the ST150 there of Burley. Not Rob Burley. That's in fact Chris Burley, who's in Class B. Dave Barrett also finishes, so he comes through as a Class C runner. Through goes Tony Paxman, so he will finish and take victory in Class B, so well done to him. And he will beat Mike 30 to the line. That'll be 8th and 9th respectively. Here comes number 7. That is Sanders, being Richard Sanders in Class B. So he will come through as another Class B contender. Up to the line he comes, and that is his finish in the books. And he will pick up 13th place. Sorry, no, it's not. Sorry, 22nd place, because it's Tim Sandy. There we've got John Edwards Parton. I think that's a change for the lead on the last lap, I think. So the last couple of laps. So the XR2 beats the ST150 for Class Honours. It's Class C victory for John Edwards Parton, beating Alex Bopes' ST150. Excellent stuff. What a fantastically entertaining race that was on so many different levels for the Modified Ford Series, and there's 2 more of those races to come tomorrow. So if you're a Modified Ford fan now, if you've been converted to one, if you're a Fast Ford fan, want to watch more of that, there are 2 more races to come. It is their last meeting of the season before they hibernate for the winter. I'm sure you'll see more of those cars out through other different series across, but of course, if you want to find out more about the Modified Ford Series, you can head to their website, which is modifiedfords.co.uk. You can also head to the BRSCC website, which is brSCC.co.uk. You can head to the Formula section. You can click the Modified Ford page to find out more about them. So, Piers Grange takes the victory after a late challenge from Jack Gadd, and he wins the invitation class and overall by 3.1 seconds. Ashley Shelswell only just steals 2nd overall and still takes a comfortable Class A win in 2nd place. Jack Gadd is 3rd. His 2nd invitation. Dave Mathias is 4th for the Sierra Sapphire Cosworth. 5th for Rory Jones in 5th position. Paul Neville is 6th overall and wins Class B1 from Martin Reynolds. Paxman in 8th position in the Class B lead from Mike 30 and John Edwards Parton and Alex Bone. Craig, Sandu, Hutton, Worcester, Stone. And then we had Cowan, Ryan, Hadfield and Barrett, then Chris Burley and Richard Sanders. And we lost sadly the 2 Escort Cosworths of Malcolm Wise and Stuart Day. There were Guthrie's Fiesta and also James Harris in his Escort Mark II. Brilliant stuff from the Modified Fords in the first race. 2 more races for them tomorrow. Now for our next race on the timetable, back to Chris Buxton in the assembly area.
We'll have a word with Jack. Jack may be the most unfortunate man on the grid. I mean, it looked like
Welcome back to sunny Snetterton for the final race of today for the Caterham crew, and it's the turn of the big boys. It is the Bilstein Caterham 7 310R Championship. On the pole spot is car number 88. It's Pete Walters. Hopefully we'll have a chance to have a chat to him. Pete, on the pole spot, happy with that?
Yeah, good. We left Croft and the car was just not performing at all. The guys of LFB have done an epic job the last couple of days just to bring the car back into how I like it, and it just felt great. The car felt awesome this morning, so hopefully capitalise on that a bit more.
Now you've got the most amount of horses out of all the Caterhams, 552 horses under here in something that weighs as much as a damp towel. That's got to be fun to chuck around somewhere like Snetterton, I'd have thought.
It is one of my favourite tracks actually of what we've got here in the UK. Not that any of them are really bad, but yeah, the car's so much fun, so light, fast round corners, just a perfect piece of equipment for taking around tracks.
Best of luck out there, and we'll see you on the other side. That is number 88, Pete Walters, on the pole spot. Alongside him is car number 79, Lewis Thompson. Lewis, on the front row, do you think you've got the extra bit of time to challenge this one?
Pardon? Sorry, say that again.
Have you got enough enough in you to challenge this man next year?
Definitely. I know he set a very competitive time, but it's Snetterton, the toe is very strong, so as long as I stay with him, I'm sure I'll be able to have a chance at him later on.
Is this a track that's worked well for you in the past?
Not really in the past, no. I crashed here last year, so hoping to change that this year.
Better luck to you for today. We'll see you on the other side. Best of luck to Lewis Thompson in the 79 car. I love the fact that the cameras on top of Pete Walters' car looks like small minions, but I assure you no minions were harmed in the making of his car. Number 9, Harry Cook on row 2. Any chance of moving forward, or is it a case of defending from those behind you?
Well, I think lap 1, just try to settle down, get yourself in a good position, but then these are my 2 championship rivals really, so I've got to try and get past them. I think the most important thing is not let them get away, but yeah, if I stay with them I think I've got a good chance. So.
Now, something we've spoken about in the smaller cars is the importance of slipstream. So the bigger the engine, is slipstream just as important, do you feel?
Yeah, the slipstream is really important still, even for the 310, so it could be last lap. You don't want to be leading as the classic, so we'll see what happens.
And how's the track feel? Is it still as good as it was earlier, or is it getting better as the day goes on?
Hopefully it's better, because earlier the grip level was really bad, so I don't know if it was the fog overnight or something, so I think hopefully it's rubbered in a bit. Should be better.
Best of luck. We'll see you on the other side. Haven't been released yet, so we've got time to have a chat with another one. Let's go further down the grid for 4th place starter number 70, Lars Hoffman. So have a chat with the very brightly coloured helmet on Lars.
Yeah.
So is it eyes forward or defending behind? What's going to be your biggest priority?
First of all, a very good start, and hopefully then first place.
Nothing wrong with a bit of confidence. Have you done well here before? Is Snetterton kind to you?
I won the championship last year here, so yeah.
A big yes. That's a big target to follow for. So, is the top spot one in your reach? Do you think you can get there?
Well, I hope so. Fight for it.
Best of luck out there. We'll see you on the other side. Hopefully, got time for one more. Number 13, unlucky for some, but it's worn proudly by James Wingfield. James, you happy with the qualifying?
Not quite what I wanted. Obviously there are 4 people who've done a better job so far, but going into the race I got the pace, so yeah, let's mix it and see what we can get out of it. Looking forward to the race, definitely.
So, well, it doesn't look like much chance of a rain, so it's all going to be done on track. Do you prefer when it's slippery or when it's conditions like this?
I don't mind both, to be honest. It's always fun when it's mixed, I have to say. I really like those conditions. But yeah, as it is at the moment, we all know what we've got to do, and there's no question over it. This track really is a big toe fest though, so it's going to be really tightly fought, very difficult to break free. So I think we're in for a real classic Caterham battle with lots of cars right at the front this time.
Excellent stuff. Who's your main rival? Who is it you've got your main eye on, or is it that top spot you're aiming for?
I certainly want a top 3 from this. Championship wise, I'm 2nd at the moment, looking 3rd possibly at the end of the year, so it's Harry Cook and I having a great championship fight. So at the moment I've got 3 points on him. I just want to protect that lead and take into the final round a solid 3rd place and see what we can do in Cadwell.
Best of luck, and we'll see you on the other side. The gates are open, the cars are being released. It's time to throw over to Scott in the commentary box.
Thank you, Chris Buxton. Yes, Scott Woodwis and Chris Hutchison back in the commentary box once again for another race for today. I think it's our second to last race of today and our last Caterham race of today. Don't worry, Caterham fans, there is plenty more coming tomorrow, including another set of races for all the championships, including, on top of that as well, the special Autumn Trophy race to watch the Caterham Academy drivers graduate in style. So, on to our fastest Caterhams and highest level Caterhams of the weekend, the Bilstein Caterham 7 310R Championship. This is the ultimate evolution of the original Academy car because if you've watched any of the earlier races, they get the upgrades from Road Sport where they get the uprated rear anti-roll bar and the uprated tyres. They then get the better springs and dampers, remove the headlights and a couple of other tweaks. Then when they get to 310R, that's when the car becomes the final evolution. It becomes the most complete it's kind of version of this original Academy car. And on top of all of that, they then get an engine upgrade up to 152 brake horsepower and a limited slip differential on top of that as well to really make it handle. Let's go through the grid quickly and we'll talk through some more aspects of this car. So Pete Walters and Lewis Thompson, two of the main championship contenders on the front row of the grid together. Harry Cook and Lars Alexander Hoffman, two other hot shots in this championship, second row of the grid. James Winfield and Matt Shepherd, welcome back to Matt. He's on the third row of the grid alongside James. Then it's David Yates and Andrew Murgatroyd. David Yates was so close to that victory at Croft last time out. Then it's Harry Senior and Douglas Christie who round out the top 10. That's a strong top 10 with the drivers up there. All of them could be right in the mix for a good result, as could also Rob Keogh. Of course, he's jumped up now, upgraded his car from 270 to 310, so he's now in the mix. He now starts alongside Jamie Elwood. Harry Landy and Jeff Bryce then come next on the 7th row of the grid in 13th and 14th positions. And then we have further back row 8, which is Chris Welch and Henry Williams. And then towards the back end of the grid, we then have Giuseppe Fillet and Gary Curtis on the 9th row. And then to round out the last three positions, we've got Jonathan Ems in 19th place, alongside Stephen Metcalf, and then Martin Gleach in, well, I'm confident, is the ex-Christian Zaruta car in 21st place. I get a nod from Chris there. The reason why I know it's that is because I call it the Brawn GP Special, because it is in Christian's, we're still in Christian's old colours of white with the Brawn GP sort of fluorescent yellow and black nose. And of course, Chris, being a DPR man, you know all about that car and all about Christian.
Well, I was racing in the 310i in 2018, and Christian was one of my main rivals. So that car still gives me a shiver down the spine every time I see it. Christian, a very wily character. Good to see Jonathan Ems back. He's one of my 2013 Caterham Academy drivers. Moved over to the US for a bit, but now looks like he's back and driving his Clockwork Orange-inspired car on the field again. Also nice to see Harry Senior and Jamie Elwood making turning up for the 310 racing this time out.
And Matt Shepherd too. He's also a welcome comeback as well. So he's always a driver that's in there or thereabouts, regardless if he gets a win or not. He's always in with a shout, isn't he? Wherever he goes.
Yeah, so last year here at Snetterton, in those torrential conditions, he was well in for a shout of the win there, and we saw him earlier this season at Brands Hatch as well. So it's good to have him back on the field, keeping his eye in his 310R.
So I would argue we've got arguably probably our most competitive field of the weekend on the grid here in terms of all the cars that we've got. So that's going to be one to watch out for. There is the number 9 car of Harry Cook. Now what's quite ironic is that his old race car, he's going up against it on the same track in the more Rob Keogh now just upgraded because I don't know all the history of all the occasions. One I did recognise is the car that Rob Keogh had in 270 yards up until this point was the old car of Harry Cook. In fact, there it is, going through the shot and there. That's Harry Cook's old car, but then Harry Cook got a new one for this season. Rob Keogh bought it, raced it in 270 yards, did quite well. He's come across from Caterham's. He's now upgraded that car, and now Harry Cook will have to look at his mirrors and see that car potentially squaring off against him, which might be quite a bit. Will that feel strange for him, go up against his old car?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of sentimentality there as well. But yeah, Rob Keogh coming into the 270, and actually it's very difficult to come into that field and just make an impact, and he certainly did that. So it'd be interesting to see how he gets on in the 310Rs now. But yeah, we've had another epic season as ever through the Caterham year with these races, and you know, we've had Thompson, who's, other than missing the Donington, he has gone absolute clean sheet, but whilst it looks like it's been an easy runaway for him, actually it's been anything but. So yeah, it's been exciting to see how this whole season developed. But Walters is generally a class act, and he's put it there on pole position. So he's certainly he'll be looking to try and break away there. But there's going to be battles again, like we've seen all the year, all the way down through the field. And as you say, this is the ultimate development of the Caterham Academy car. This is as far as you can take the Academy car, but you get 5 good years of racing out of your car car, if not more. You can obviously stay in the 310R Championship if you want. And as we've been hearing, you often see the cars stay around in the Championship. They get sold down to new drivers and as drivers move on up. But yeah, great to see them all here lining up. And sort of the sun setting almost, isn't it? It's a very picturesque view of Snetterton.
I was about to say beautiful golden sunshine to come down, and what has been a really brilliant first day of racing at Snetterton. It's been fantastic from start to finish, and it's pretty much apart from one qualifying session, or two qualifying sessions, wall-to-wall racing tomorrow from start to finish, which is really good to see. So, the sun setting on today's Caterham, actually, in fact, excuse the pun, of the Bilstein Caterham 7-310R Championship. So, Lewis Thompson and Pete Walters, who arguably are the two top men in the championship, separated by 11 points on drop scores. There was a yellow flag for a second there, but now the green flag is at the back. All 21 cars are ready to go. 5-second board is up, and the Bilstein Caterham 7-310R Championship will blast into life here at Snetterton any second now. Decent start from the front row. Cracking start also from Lars Alexander Hoffman from the second row of the grid. He charged away from fourth on the grid, trying to get down the outside line towards Ritchie for the first time, but Walters will get the whole shot. Everyone's spreading out 3-4 abreast into the right-hander for the first time. There's car 11, that's Jamie Elwood getting in the mix alongside Matt Shepherd. Turning out of the right-hander and now towards the hairpin. It was Wilson for the first time. So Walters takes a defensive line on the inside and leads. Thompson second. Wingfield's up to third. He's making his way up from what was fifth on the grid. A little wide out there was Harry Landy having a bit of fisticuffs there with Jeff Price as they squirm their way out towards the left-hander at Palmer and up towards the infield section for the first time. And so at the moment, Walters in front, but he knows he's got to try to get every point he can out of Thompson. And trying to beat Thompson this year so far has been, when he's been in the races, has been nigh impossible.
Yeah, like I say, he hasn't run away with them all, but he's certainly placed his car at the winning step by the time we get to the end of him. Another nice thing about Thompson, he doesn't run with the side doors, so you can see him working away at the wheel, and it's a nice thing to see. But Wingfield there making a great start up from 5th to 3rd, and looking like these three trying to make a break. We've got some more exhaust gauze left on the track there, and in fact the exhaust there, so I wonder who's that's come off of. Again, maybe we'll hear that going down the straight making an awful noise, but yeah, Thompson right underneath Walters, absolutely looking like he's going to be competing in by the time we get down the end of the straight.
Someone's getting a slap on the wrist of the screws there for that one. Anyway, out of Williams for the first time was the Bentley straight. It's been a long day. Up towards the complex for the first time. Side by side for the lead between who else? Walters and Thompson. Down the outside looks Thompson. Walters holds firm. He's a wily old fox, this Peter. He's done this several times before, been a champion at least once in the past. Wingfield's up to 3rd now. He's just holding off now. Looks like Harry Cook. Also, we've got, by the looks of it, that was... contact in the background. Harry Williams has gone around. Now, whether he jumped through or was pushed, I'm not quite sure. We only saw the tail end of that after the incident. He gets going again. So, we can now work out who's who now. So, we've got Walters, Thompson, it's Wingfield, Cook, Hoffman, David Yates is in there too, and Andrew Murgatroyd. Then the next two cars behind are Matt Shepherd, and I think Jamie Elwood's in there as well. So, good start for the front runners up to the end of lap 1, and it's side by side for the lead. I think this possibly could be half an hour. This is going to be a typical Caterham race, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, sit back and relax and let them entertain you. It's a brilliant stuff to watch. And we've got Thompson going around the outside there. Interestingly, he wasn't willing, or Walters wasn't willing to just let him have it, was it? But again, James Wingfield will be there to pick up any pieces as we got Walters going back down the inside of Thompson into turn 2. So it seems like Walters wants to stay out front there. He wants to see how that develops. A bit like we saw with Blair earlier in the races. He wants to see whether he can be there when the people behind start battling. We got Yates there. It's nice to see him up. He was starting a bit lower down the field, but now is firmly putting himself up in that top field. And he's come back into the 310R about halfway through the season, and he has absolutely injected himself at the front. We see Thompson going around the outside again, not going to work, but Wilson, Walters really wanting to stay out front there.
And also Rob Keogh doing a good start. He's moved up to 12th already from the opening lap and a bit, so he's making up a couple of spots already. And in that lead gap, as everyone's still pretty close as they should be. Out now through Williams for the second time. Walters with Thompson all over him, and the rest of the pack just line astern all the way through the right-hander. There is Rob Keogh with Gary Curtis. So Doug Christie. That's Harry Senior and so Rob. That's I don't know what is that now. So Rob Keogh's past Doug Christie. Right, I got it in the end. So side by side for the lead, 3 abreast for 3rd. Then there's a 3 abreast for 4th, and a lock up there from Harry Cook. That was a big lock up on the inside left that will give a bit of vibration if he's not careful. Now, out of all of that, it's only David Yates who's moved up there into 4th place. A great stuff for him to work up to the order. the tyre smoke from Harry Cook's car still lingering in the air from that. So Fillet is now there too. Was that an issue or a problem for the 16 car?
Like
that was Stephen Metcalf. So he might have possibly just skipped over the chicane and had an issue there. But the top two trying to break away. This is having shades of the Road Sport race when we saw the top two break away, which was Bush and O'Flanagan. I suspect, rather unfortunately, we might get them to pull away again. But again, it depends on the cars behind to try and reel them in. Although these two, I think, might, given the fact it's a long race, I wonder if they've already made an impromptu. Well, they're championship contenders, so whether they've made a pact or not, they're pulling away at this point in time, and they're actually allowing these guys to try and fight amongst each other whilst they try and create that gap.
Yeah, that's right. So they've settled down into this, and Walter's still kind of insisting on his car being out front, but you might now see a pack because they can see that gap behind. They might want to kind of solidify that, but even as we speak, that seems to really compress. Wingfield's lost out a little bit in this sort of slightly after the early couple of laps. He was up in third, now down to fifth again. And Hoffman, we've seen him have an epic start to the year, but unfortunately his mid-season hasn't gone his way, hasn't had the luck and had some incident. And so it's good to see him back up there in sixth place and really getting stuck in.
Fastest lap of the race, the first proper flying lap on the race, apart from the, as in the first proper flying lap, but not the one from straight from the grid, went to David Yates, 2 minutes 10.076, but he is now down to fourth again at the expense of Harry Cook. So, so he's now going to try and get himself back in the mix, and possibly either he's playing the tactic game and asking Harry Cook to bring himself and the rest of the pack to get back onto these top two. Does remain to be seen, but we've got plenty of time to see it. And there you can see there's the answer. In fact, Harry Cook has gone straight onto the back of second place, and he's brought David Yates with him, so it's now a leading quartet rather than a leading pair. Now team behind James Wingfield trying to pull away from this battle for sixth going on between Lars Hoffman and Matt Shepherd. There's Andrew Murgatroyd at 8, Jamie Elwood 9th, and Harry Senior back in 10th, and he's not too far away from him either. So round the outside looking for second place looks Harry Cook on the back of Pete Walters now, because Lewis Thompson slipped back through and got back into the lead. So through he goes. Yates is there in fourth, Wingfield fifth, and sixth and seventh also swing through the shot. Further back. Oh, one car's got a piece of bodywork flying off. That is I think Jeff Price's car. So Jeff Price is showering bodywork on the complex there. So he's lost a rear wing, and I think it was also what looked like there was a piece of bodywork rubbing. It finally then eventually he caught something, which then saw it kind of vault off the car on its own.
He had some early contact. Do you remember in that first bit that was Jeff's car, and it's just obviously pinged now. So a bit of the tyre just caught it in the right angle, and off it went as we go over the line for another lap. 23 minutes to go. Still plenty of time for this race to develop, but we've absolutely got a front pack that is nose to tail. We saw Thompson get ahead briefly, didn't we? But he's still back behind Walters, and Walters again defending hard down the inside into the hairpin. So he is absolutely wanting to control and sit in front of this race. Problem with Snetterton is you can't do that for the whole 30 minutes. Someone will get by, and we will see whether his plan works out. Certainly, if these two can work as a pair, I think they've got the speed to break away from Cook behind.
So they can do, although Harry Cook's fastest lap of the race might suggest that Harry Cook thinks differently. In fact, he is getting into the leading group, and he is bringing now not just David Yates, he's also bringing James Wingfield with him, as Thompson desperately at this early stage seeks a way back around Pete Walters, swinging this way and that, thinking, come on Pete, either give me the runs at the front, or just, or at least put your foot down. So now we've got Shepherd and Hoffman also getting into the mix too, so that's now 7 cars between each other. Here comes Thompson again, he'll stick close on the exit of August. David Yates also closes up under brakes to put Harry Cook back under pressure, although I wonder possibly if at this early stage, instead of putting him under pressure, he's just trying to give Harry Cook a bit of inadvertent backup here and think, right, rather than trying to attack them, he's probably playing the smartest game out of all four of them, thinking, right, I know what these two are up to in first and second. Harry's trying to stay with them. If I latch onto Harry and kind of work together with him, in inverted commas, there's a good chance I could pick up the pieces if these three start fighting, which they are now, look, because Harry Cook's getting right involved. I think that's a piece of bodywork as a legacy off of Jeff Price's ejection of his right rear wing as he comes out through the right couple of the complex of Brundle and Nelson.
David Yates started racing with me in 2013, so again he's got a lot of experience on this grid, and he knows and has seen most racing scenarios. As we see the slippery surface flag out there for that wing, if you get that wing stuck under your tyre, it can be, you do lack a certain amount of braking, that's for sure. But yes, David, by sitting in the coattails here, that means he can then just let the gap come back without actually having to do anything.
Yeah, I think I'm certain the slippery surface flag also can double up as the debris flag as well. So if there is a piece of debris on the track, there is a warning flag to say it's some kind of hazard on track, whether it's fluid or potentially a piece of bodywork. So that is shot the sky there for a second. What lovely sky on the Saturday afternoon. Back to the action on track. And
Jonathan Ems and Chris Welch, they're going nose to tail. So Jonathan Ems getting absolutely stuck in there in 16th place, so making up some spaces. Although he's lost out on that lap overall. Looks like Giuseppe Fillet might have actually moved up on that lap.
It looks like that, and also Jeff Price also in there too as well. He's recovering, so is Metcalf and Welsh in there too, and also trying to recover. Looks like Henry Williams in the Williams automotive car. He had that spin early on as well, and he had that I think it was spin up at the complex, wasn't it? So he now has got to try and pick his way back through up in 19th position. He's now on the back of Chris Welch to try and make that move. He looks to the inside line and looks up the inside, and it wasn't quite after you, was he? Kind of it's position, so he wasn't going to be after you anyway, but Henry Williams didn't quite make the big dive up there. It looks like Chris managed to brake just late enough to hold off that move for that corner, but I think on the run down towards Agostini, I would expect him to make that move. It's off camera for the moment. Yes, he does. So up the inside goes Henry Williams. It's up to 18th place for him at the expense of Chris Welch. And now the next target is going to be Jonathan Ems in that bright orange car for 17th position.
It's great to see all like the sun making everything look very epic at the moment. The gap at the front is still looking epically tight between Walters and Thompson. Cook with a little bit of a gap back there, but Yates obviously still stuck on his tail. He's still following this Jonathan Ems battle there with going through. And here's back to the lead group now. So we've got David Yates and James Wingfield still there. Remember, James was up in 3rd, slipped down to 5th, but he's definitely been involved and maybe just playing that patience game at the moment, just letting the race come to him without putting the effort in.
Yeah, I was going to say the time of day does kind of befit to kind of end the season or the time of the year, and the fact that the days get shorter and with championships concluding towards the end of the year, there's actually the time of the day in terms of getting shorter and the sunsets coming in earlier. It does give it that proper like end of season feel. That kind of it does add to the atmosphere of the last couple of races of the season. It gives you kind of vibes of the sun setting on the season and everything else. It does make
many
it feel
metaphors
pretty,
possible.
Does make it pretty epic. And what is also pretty epic is this battle here. Now Lars Hoffman has lost his left rear wing. So that's happened somewhere, I think, out of our shot, I think. So he's now back down to, that would be 6th position. Former double Caterham champion. He won the Roadsport Championship. It was Roadsport Champion 2019, 270R Championship last year. And then, or it might have been a couple of years before that, 2018, 2019, and 2020 he was in 310Rs. We're both sort of trying to work it out in our heads, but we've still got plenty of time to do that. 19 minutes to go before this race comes underway. 18.5 actually, because the clock at the top is frozen a little bit, so 18.5 minutes to go, just under. Another attack for Lewis Thompson into the complex. David Yates is into 3rd now, so he's managed to work his way past David Yates. Sorry, past Harry Cook, not David Yates. He didn't work his way past himself. James Wingfield ahead of Lars Hoffman, 5th and 6th respectively. And then it's Andrew Murgatroyd, Harry Senior, Doug Christie and Jamie Elwood, and Rob Keogh is holding station 11th place. So only one car away from the top 10, and his gap between them is only about 0.2 of a second. So he's got a chance to get into the top 10 in his first 310R race, and probably just adapt to the fact he's got extra power, a different rev limit, a limited slip differential, different tweaks on the car. He's got to try and make different elements of the car he's had to add on to. So Rob trying to adapt to this new car and doing quite well in 10th position.
The extra few horsepower and the limited slip differential certainly again make it again it's another step up. It's we talk about it's about that 1 to 2 second gap per step, and this is these cars are about that much faster on a single lap. It's just worth pointing out that we had Walters in the qualifying doing a 2:07 in qualifying, and you can see how incredible fast that was earlier on today, as the 2:09s is the kind of regular time that we see. So he must have had the absolute perfect lap in qualifying, and it shows the ultimate space he's got. And they again have pulled that tiny gap. And remember earlier I said when we saw a gap in the 270s that maybe it was going to develop, and this one, it has got that threat again. If they will work together a little bit, it will happen, but it depends whether Walters actually wants to back him up into the rest of the field. And from what we've seen so far, that does seem to be the case. 2:09.3, a fastest lap there for Walters in clean air.
That's been duped now by Hoffman, 2:08.9, so he must have got a toe there as the two championship contenders go toe-to-toe into the right-hander at Ritchie's corner. Now this brings a rather resurgent Harry Cook, who carried all the momentum. He was the first of the 3 cars on the brakes into the Wilson hairpin because he was carrying so much speed he had to brake earlier to not hit the back of them. So that's how fast he approached the corner. But again, that's what happens when you've got 2 cars side by side like that. You kind of kill the momentum a bit because they're so focused on each other. They're not on the ideal racing line that you want to take, whereas Harry Cook could just swing through, take his perfect racing line and just sail right up to the back of them again and realised, oh crikey, I'm going to hit them. Braked earlier, then got himself back into the mix. They're coming to put a lap on a back marker.
That was Harry Landy, so he's had an uncomfortable start to this race because you wouldn't expect him to be caught up so far. fast, so I imagine he's had an incident or two. But like you say, back markers always become an effect. But Harry Landy's got a bit of pace, so it probably will be a little while before they catch up to him. But yes, he had all the speed coming through turn 1, but nowhere to use it. The track was absolutely blocked in front of him, so he had to get on the brakes early just to make sure he didn't hit the rear of the other 2 cars. But these 2 have permanently been in place 1 and place 2, and it looks like they want to stay there. And is Thompson playing that just clever waiting game? Well, certainly the rest of the season says that he's got all the answers so far. Will Snetterton prove the same?
Snetterton always tends to provide quite an epic, or at least one incredibly epic Caterham race, and this is probably a contender already. We've still got half the race to go, and it's probably not certain that it wise at all to try and call any kind of a favourite for this race, because there are certainly 6 or 7 drivers here who are all very capable of taking this victory. Battle on here between that is Rob Keogh, in fact, Rob Keogh,
Jamie
Elwood. So that's a scrap going on for it's currently 10th position, and Rob's just want to get his elbows out here and try and find a gap through, but Jamie's going to hold on, sort of swing through the bottom of the compression at the bomb hole and up to the other side again. And across the line go the leaders. Not quite getting a toe from Harry Landy, of course, in front, but across the line they go. Side by side again, where have we seen this before? Walters and Thompson. Walters this time on the outside line. David Yates again pinches the fast lap of the race, and he was going for a possible move around the outside of Harry Cook. Is he going to go for it? Not quite. Slips in behind him this time, but he's going to try and get himself really involved here. They're 2 by 2 down towards the Wilson hairpin once more. Under brakes for the 180-degree hairpin, and now it's Walters who slots in. Thompson falling into line in 2nd place. Still Cook, and then still David Yates, and here comes Thompson again, looks to the outside. If you get stuck on the outside line, it's quite horribly off camber on the outside line of that corner, so that's not where you want to get caught out. You can pass around the outside, but you've got to have a lot of confidence in the grip and setup of your car to pull that one off. Otherwise, you're just going to be sent straight to the outside of the circuit and possibly off onto the grass.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really off camber. There's a couple of places. There's not a lot of gradient at Snetterton, but that is one of the places that do have that camber. For me, it still looks like Thompson is actually quite comfortable there. He's not where we've seen him working away at the steering wheel before. Actually, I've seen a couple of times he's very calm and very under control at the moment. So he certainly feels everything's still under control. But it's easy to say that when you're in the middle of a sandwich, isn't it? And David Yates now up into 3rd place, so he has now disposed of Cook. So that's good to see. And we've got the eternal Wingfield and Hoffman ready to pick up any pieces for in the closing stages. We're moving into the last 10 minutes of this race. Still a little way off, but they're putting in a good show so far.
I will say David Yates will have the memory of losing out on the victory at Croft burned into his memory, thinking, I'm not going to have this happen for a 2nd race weekend in a row. He will be absolutely pushing, and I think we both know if he does win, it'll be incredibly popular, because he's a very incredibly popular paddock, a name around the paddock. Everyone kind of knows it, everyone loves him who he is, so anytime he's successful, it usually is quite a big roar from the supporters in the paddock. He's a very popular guy, and a win for him will do him a world of good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been racing him for absolute years now. He has never managed that win. He did come 2nd, but luckily I was in the win on that day. But it was great to see him up on the podium, and it's great to see him later in this year just absolutely putting in the performances that sort of show his experience. And you know, just it's great to see the rewards being given to him.
Right. Well, first, we're going to see for the first time at all today, in any race we've had today, black and white flag going out for somebody. I presume it's for track limits. Now, I can't see the number board, but we usually get a race control message on the timing screen. As there goes David Yates into 2nd place past Lewis Thompson. So up in his 2nd place goes David Yates. Now again, we didn't see I didn't see the number board, so somebody it was obviously a double-figure number, so it's not anyone with a single-digit number, which is it's everyone apart from Harry Cook, shall we say? That makes it any easier, which it doesn't. Now David Yates is getting really stuck in here. He's trying to defend from Thompson. He's looking up the inside line. That Yates, as he's rightfully to do so, shuts the door and closes it down. And Cook now is under attack from Hoffman, who's gone round the outside to try and take up 4th position. Now he's into 4th, and now he can pressure Thompson. And Thompson, who's the championship leader, he knows he's got a few points ahead of him on drop scores. He's 11 points ahead of Pete Walters on drop scores. He knows that ultimately right now, every single moment he spends not either in front of Pete Walters or right behind him ready to pounce is potentially points he could be losing if he can't get there by the end of the checker flag.
And this is exactly why we've seen Walters wanting to really stay in front as much as he can, because you never know when that other situation is going to happen. And David Yates is actually, he's being that interference. And it looks like Thompson's going to get past him here, but had he not, then there's every chance that Walters could have actually pulled away. But Yates is still there. Yes, he's still there. Thompson has got back, but you can see the little gap now developing.
No, I think so. Hoffman got into third, actually. So it looks like Hoffman managed to steal third from Thompson. So it's Walters, I think, that leads now, by the looks of it. Yates in second, Hoffman's up to third. So I have to say, I mean this politely, but given the fact he's been a prominent racer before, where's this last Hoffman? Where's he come from? We've missed this last Hoffman for quite a while, but he's now back in prominence again in terms of his pace. He's tails up for this one. He's in the pack now, and he's getting in the mix. So sorry, you're right. Thompson was back in front. I correct myself. So Thompson is leading. It's then Yates in second place. Hoffman's third. Walters was the one that got the big shuffle down to fourth in the complex just off camera, and he's trying to get back in the mix here. So now it's roles reversed. It's now was at one point on that lap. It was Walters first and Thompson fourth. It's now Thompson first and Walters fourth.
And they're going hammer and tong into the chicane, the hairpin as well. So it's all still looking likely to change. But Hoffman there, we said he was ready to start picking up pieces, and he's definitely started doing that. With now everything's reversed, isn't it? For a lap ago we were saying how it was looking good for Walters, and now it's swung back towards Thompson again.
And going to third place also gave Lars Hoffman on that lap as well a new fastest lap at the race, 2 minutes 8.476. Only David Yates is the only man. Neither of the championship contenders have been into 2 minute 8 yet. It's the two drivers in between, sandwiched in between them in this race at the moment, that are literally the fastest men on track. Well, actually, the only other person who did that was James Wingfield. So neither of the championship contenders have set a 2 minute 8 lap time so far. Reason being, they're so busy battling each other, they haven't had the time or the chance to set a quick enough lap time to take that fastest lap.
They've also been pushing the air out the front, haven't they? They've been in that lead, so they've never had the opportunity of a tow. Like I say, we saw that spectacular lap from Walters earlier. But Thompson doing what he does best. He's got back out in front, and he's looking under control, isn't he? Whether we'll start seeing a little bit more, arm movement from him. Harry Landy there getting out of the way of the lead battle. I think that's a sensible move at that point, isn't it? To let them go and not be acting as interference. So that's good to see. As Yates here coming, Yates into second now. So great move there to down the inside of Hoffman, and we've got Can Thompson hold on? He's done it so many times this year. Can he keep that clean slate for all the races he's entered?
It's true that it's a pretty much 100% record, isn't it? Every single race he's entered this year, he hasn't contested every single race, but everyone he has raced in, he does have, you're absolutely right, 100% winning record. So that's one thing to watch out for. It's almost like, forgive the reference, it's almost like the streak in the Undertaker in WWE. Who can break it? Who's the one that can beat the dominance? It's almost like as well, who won the 7 UK Championship the last couple of years? John
Byrne.
John Byrne, that's it. Why couldn't I think of John Byrne? It was when Henry Heaton beat the streak in John Byrne. Now then, a time penalty's gone out. 5-second time penalty for car. 45. That's Rob Keogh. So he's been a little bit too much on track limits. There he is. So 5-second time penalty for Rob Keogh. It has to be for track limits, given the fact he's been running wide too many times. And this is one of the circuits where Dr. Mar has put in some wonderful little pressure plates on some of the circuits, where if you trigger them, a pitcher goes up to race control, and it's undeniable evidence that you've been transgressing over track limits. So I think at the moment he's not so fussed about that. He's more fussed about battling Matt Shepherd to get to 10th position, which is interesting because Matt Shepherd looks like he's dropped back, and there's been a switch around there, which means that now Rob still isn't in 10th position, but everything's going on. Now, up the inside for second place goes Pete Walters.
Lars Hoffman there lost his nose cone is doing what we saw earlier.
Yes.
His nose cone is just slightly askew, and again, that will be affecting it. You can see a little bit of, maybe that's water as he's got a wing stuck under the car there. So there's definitely a bit of something gone on there that we've missed off camera.
I didn't want to, I was about to say it was the exhaust, but the exhaust is on the right-hand side, not the left, so it's a piece of something that's scraping on the ground. Here's Matt Shepherd still battling away with both Elwood there in the number 11 car just ahead of him, Rob Keogh, who has that 5-second penalty now as they scrap over 10th, 11th and 12th. 7 minutes to go. Another battle there, you can see it. That's Jeff Price battling with
Gary Curtis. The inside, yeah.
So side by side here for the lead, and this is it's the top two again. It's Walters versus Thompson, and just like that, Walters is back into the lead now. Thompson in second place, and Yates has pulled away now. So the fact that Topper's got the damage there, and also the fact that Cook and Winkler and that bothered with each other, it's now allowed David Yates to become part of that top three. 6.5 minutes to go. Dare we dream? Dare we dream? Is it Thompson, Hoffman, or Thompson or Walters, or could it finally happen?
It could, I mean, it absolutely could. And being in the place following on to this finish straight, as we've seen earlier, you can easily draft by and overtake. So yeah, maybe today's David's day, but we will keep our eyes open as we see Walters there looking up the inside of Thompson going into turn one. That's going to get tight. They've been absolutely hammering nails with each other, haven't they? They've just been going at it the whole race long, and whilst they've both slipped back very, very temporarily, they've both made it straight back up to that top again, and we see Thompson is still in that lead. So we're in the early part of this race. We saw Walters was almost permanently in the lead. It's switched around at halfway, and you know the mechanics of this race are changing by the minute.
So top three have got a bit of a breakaway now. Lars Hoffman's kind of being a little bit of a cork in the bottle now to hold up both Harry Cook and James Wingfield inadvertently, as we now head down to the final closing stage to this first Caterham 7-3-10R race. Still Thompson, Walters, Yates. That looks to be the definitive top three group, but of course, never say never. It takes one slip up for these three to battle amongst each other too much. It can give the three cars behind a chance to get back in. I think Harry Cook has got past Lars Hoffman now, because I think it was the black and red car of Harry Cook that I just saw in the corner of the screen there. So I think he's up to fourth now, ahead of Hoffman. If we get a chance to glimpse them on the second half of the second part of that top six, we'll have a look. JB Elwood, meanwhile, has got past Rob Keogh, so Rob then has now got PC's right front wing dangling off on the front of that car, so he's going to be careful it doesn't fall off. And yes, confirmation, Hoffman is down to fifth and could lose now that position, 4 to 6th, if James Wingfield can get through as well. So let's watch out for that, side by side between the two leaders, with Yates still watching on carefully, 4.5 minutes to go. He's just biding his time for the moment. He's got a couple of laps in the tank. He's going to sit there and try and pick his moment, I think, if he's going to do it. Because now Wingfield does indeed take fifth position from Lars Hoffman, still with carrying the ever increasingly dislodged front nose on that car.
And that's not going to be helping his speed down that straight, as we see Harry Senior here with Murgatroyd, and is that Doug Christie behind? Yep, Doug Christie doing well, and again he's had a really solid year with getting top 10s. Again, we've got back markers coming to play interference here, so we've got
and look at David Yates. This is what exactly happened at Croft. They capitalised on that one. Now then, this is interesting. The run that David Yates has got, he's got past Thompson. He'll be side by side with Walters, no toe. Side by side, here comes Thompson again, back up the inside line. Walters holds on, and so Thompson gets back in front of him. So, despite that moment of glory, that kind of like that wide-eyed moment for him to get back involved, he misses out on the chance to get it and drops back to third place. The two, both Walters and Thompson, back at it again for first and second, and also the back marker also held them up, so it brings once again Cook and Wingfield and Hoffman back into contention once more. So those cars with 4th, 5th and 6th, don't count them out just yet. They're just on the cusp of getting back into this group and making it a six-pack for the victory rather than a trio.
If they get half a chance, they will take it. As we see again, we've got Thompson around the outside of Walters. David's got nowhere to go at the moment, but he has played this race. He might actually be able to tuck out the inside of Thompson here, because there was a gap left. He has got it out the inside, and if he's got the momentum out the corner, which I don't think he has, so he's still back in third, but he's played this race cool, hasn't he? He's been chilled out when he's been a bit further back, and as soon as he's gone up to the top, he's made it count.
Yeah, I keep getting flashbacks to the slingshot. That move at Snetterton reminded me of the slingshot. He got the massive slingshot he got off the S's onto the back straight at Croft when he passed both the top two that were battling for the lead. He just got a fantastic run all the way down the straight and picked up the lead. It was just on the last lap where he agonisingly lost out on it. Can he turn the tables and finally get that first ever Caterham win? It's still possible. There's still 2.5 minutes to go. It's certainly doable, but he's going to have to literally get a move done, possibly maybe down the pit straight for the final time, and then get his elbows out. He's gone round the outside of Walters for second. Thompson's there as well. A little twitch of oversteer as he's trying to get the car rotated. Walters comes back at him into the right-hander and holds on for the time. But has to sit back and probably holds on for second place. They're going to go on to the last lap this time by. Further back, a bit of a almost battle we haven't watched too much about. This is Harry Senior, Murgatroyd and Doug Christie with their own battling no man's land further back. Now this is interesting. Look at 4th and 5th and 6th. Harry Cook, Wingfield and Hoffman are all in there now. The last lap board's going to go out. There's more penalties being given. Another car's been giving, I think, another warning or a time penalty. A track limits. Down the pit straight they go. Here comes Walters to try and get second place back for Yates, but Thompson's also in as well. 3 abreast into Richie's corner, round the outside of both of them goes Pete Walters and takes the lead from Lewis Thompson. And Thompson also gets back into second place. So Yates goes back down to third, Thompson's back down to second, and Walters goes from third to first.
Yeah, amazing. It's changing at every single corner, and like you say, we're coming down to the absolute, final moments of this race now, and it's had a great character all the way through. And these three have been the absolute, they've been steadfast at the top here, showing that their quality, and the guys behind like ready to pick up those pieces. And there's no saying that's not going to come into play yet.
So down the short straight towards Agostini for the final time. The sun continued to set and sink even lower as we get to the end of this race, the end of today's Caterham racing action. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of conversation and good chatter after this day's racing action. Getting ready for tomorrow, of course, we will crown at least 2 Caterham champions with the Bethel Academy races tomorrow. But in towards the complex in the final time of Hamilton and Oggies, and David hasn't given up just yet. He's right on the back of Lewis Thompson. In fact, he's as close as he needs to be down the back straight. He needs to be this close. If he stays close to Williams, yeah, that's perfect. Right through the right-hander, onto the back end for second place. Now, if he can a little wide on the exit, but he's still on the toe, they'll get the double toe from the 2 cars in front. If he can stay here for this final kind of final few corners, there's every chance he can spoil both of these guys' parties.
But we've got Thompson coming out round the outside. That's not the best way to go around here, but it is possible. So will he hold on round the outside? I think he's actually happy to sit here. He acted as a blocker there to stop David Yates from getting through. He's now in the position he wants to be, which is second, coming around Coram.
So, up towards the bottom hole for the last time. Then it's just Coram Murray to the sprint to the checkered flag to see find out who wins the first Bilstein Caterham 7-3-10R race of the weekend. It's been a fantastic race at the front between the front 5 or 6 cars as they come back through Coram now. Walters in front, Thompson's there in second place, and so is David Yates in third. The sprint's going to be a sprint to the flag between all 4 of them. Up to the checkered flag they come. Walters, Thompson, Yates, and Cook is going to be in which order. It's going to be side by side between Walters and Thompson. Up to the line, sprint finish, checkered flag. Who gets his nose in front? Walters gets it on the line. Walters picks it up by 16 thousandths of a second in a typical Caterham Motorsport finish. Brilliant stuff. And David Yates still gets a podium, 3/10 a second back. Again, he'll enjoy a bit of silverware after that one. More battling. Now, I'll say 16 thousandths of a second cautiously, because sometimes the timing screen does then flip back sometimes after it calculates it initially. So it hasn't changed yet, but it's telling us Walters got it on the line by 16 thousandths of a second. Yates is third, Cook is fourth, Hoffman fifth, and Wingfield sixth. Top 6 covered by 3.8 seconds. We
put a start and finish line camera there just for that exact situation, just to make sure that there's no discrepancies. The camera will capture them as they go over the line. And yeah, what an epic finish. Thompson got a brilliant exit, and I absolutely thought he was going to do it, but it was just 16 thousandths there, not there. So his clean sheet for all races entered is blemished by having a second place on it, Scott. Well, what a season so far. But Walters proving real steadfast. He defended like I didn't even think was possible around this track.
Just like the Undertaker at WrestleMania, the streak is broken. Lewis Thompson's streak is over as a race winner because Pete Walters, former champion, and his key championship rival has picked up the victory. There it is, provisional confirmation. Pete Walters takes the win by 16 thousandths of a second from Lewis Thompson and David Yates. That first win will come, but not quite today. 3/10 back in third place. Harry Cook fourth. Means the top 4 are covered by 0.6 of a second. Then last Hoffman in 5th, James Wingfield 6th, then Harry Senior, Murgatroyd, Christie and Shepherd. Then Jamie Elwood, Jeff Price, Gary Curtis, Giuseppe Fillet. Rob Keogh finishes up 15th after his 5-second penalty for track limits. Then it's Henry Williams, Jonathan Ems on his 17th on his comeback. Then Chris Welch, Stephen Metcalf and Martin Gleach, with Harry Landy also finishing, but he was 2 laps down after an earlier problem. And last Hoffman, meanwhile, takes the fastest lap as well. One more race to go here, but thanks for watching for those on the Caterham stream. We'll see you tomorrow for more action here at Snetterton, but for those watching on the BRSCC stream, down to our final race of the weekend, of the day, for the CMMC Super Saloons and Tin Tops. So, for the final time today, it's going to be Chris, down to you.
Welcome back to the holding area for the CMMC Southern Super Saloons and Tin Tops. They are out at the beginning of the day and they are seeing out today's action. Winning last time is the mighty Escort of Rod Burley, so he starts on pole again. We meet again, good sir.
Yes, good afternoon, or nearly good evening actually.
Now, will you be giving everybody a sporting chance, or is there going to be competition for you, do you think?
I never underestimate the opposition. sometimes they can surprise you and people can pull in a good lap time. So, yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Gavin's got a good car. It's got a good engine under him. It's very nimble through the twisty infield section. I've probably got a bit more power down the straight than he has. So, yeah, I think we'll have a good race again. It was close in the first race, so I don't think it'll be any different now.
And how many career wins does this make it?
We're up to 696 now.
True. Another milestone in the waiting. Best of luck, Mr. Burley. I'm sure we will see you again very soon indeed. Starting second last time out was car number 30, which is Gavin Dunn, and of course will be doing so again. He had the fastest lap last time around in the BMW. Let's see how he feels about this race. Gavin, fastest lap last time. Do you think there's enough pace to challenge the Escort?
No. Straight line speed. It's just, you do all the hard work through the corners, you can catch him. As soon as we get to a straight, the power, you just gone, you've got no chance. So we'll do the best we can.
You do the best you can, and I'm sure the results will come. Best of luck for race number 2. That's Gavin Dunn in the number 30 BMW. Coming home third from starting 4th last time is car number 18, Nick Sutton in the Mitsubishi Lancer. Nick, starting 3rd this time around, do you think you can climb one stage further?
I'll do my very best, but I'm wrestling a few problems. I've got some gear selection problems, so last time it was taking time away from me, but we've put a fix in place, so I'm hoping that I'll do it this time, but maybe second, I don't know. I'm hoping.
It was very entertaining to see your progress, and we wish you the best of luck for the second race. The gate is open, the cars will be getting underway for race number 2 for the CMMC Southern Super Saloons, and Tin Tops will be handing back over to Scott Woodward in the commentary box.
Thank you, Chris. Yes, indeed, as the sun sets on what's been a brilliant first day of racing here at Snetterton, we're getting ready for our final race of today, which is the second of which for the CMMC Super Saloons and Intermarks. It's the Southern Division, of course, for the CMMC as well. And after a pretty entertaining race yesterday, earlier on this morning, they are now heading off for their second race. So it was Rob Burley, of course, who picked up, as you heard in the interview there, his 697th race win. So he's literally 3 away from hitting the big number of 700 career race wins. How amazing would that be? It's a shame he wasn't in the first Modified Ford Series race. He did qualify for it, but sadly didn't make it out for that one. So unfortunately, hopefully he can make it out for the 2 races tomorrow. And if he's able to even come through and win those 2, that would be incredible to see him possibly pick up what could be. There is every chance that if he wins today and actually happens to win both Modified Ford races tomorrow, he could hit 700 career wins this weekend, which would be absolutely phenomenal, and that would be an incredible milestone to reach. It will be tough, I think, if he starts the second race. He'll have to do so from the back of the grid, as he didn't compete in the first race, possibly because he was trying to just get the car prepared for this second race. But as the cars then form up now on the grid, I think there's 1 or 2 possible holes in the grid, unfortunately, due to the fact that there might be 1 or 2 cars which didn't survive or didn't come out of the first race all that well, that will be possibly on the sidelines for this second race, I'm afraid. But we'll go through the grid very shortly for what is our final race of today and our second race of the day for the Classic and Modern Motorsport Clubs, Super Saloons and Tin Tops. So, Rob Burley starts on pole position by courtesy of his win from earlier on. Gavin Dunn starts alongside him in the BMW. That's the Evo 10 of Nick Sutton and the BMW of Ronan Bradley in 4th place. Then it's the Andrew Mackenzie BMW E46 M3 and Chris Bassett's Tin Top winning Peugeot 306. Then it's Sean Fairweather's Sierra Cosworth and Martin Scott's BMW M3. Dave Charlton and Mark Cripps are on the 5th row of the grid in their Seat Leon and BMW E30. Graham Richardson and Steve Dan then come next on the 6th row of the grid in the Honda Civic and the VW Scirocco. I don't see Steve Dan's VW Scirocco sadly going past my window. Ken Angels BMW doesn't appear to be there either, sadly. Ian Seal is there also. And his SC150. Jacques Whitehead, his BMW 330 Ci, is also there too, as is Angelo Massanetto. And also we should have the likes of Alexander Baldwin, Nick Wall, I think also had an early retirement in that race as well. And that concludes the 18 car grid. Alright, so Ken Angel's BMW is there, so we'll count them off. So we can see Rob Burley's car, we can also see Dunn BMW, we can see Nick Sutton, we can see Brian Bradley's car, we can see the Mackenzie BMW, Chris Bassett, we can see the Fairweather car as well. So we'll work out exactly who we do and don't have by the time they get around to start this race. It's a rolling start, as it was for the first race earlier on. This beautiful, warm, sort of hazy, autumnal glow here at Snetterton. Sun started to set later in the afternoon, 5:30. It always looks like the camera has a filter on it, which is making it look like it's this sort of deep and warm and orangey, but it really is that beautiful outside. So, but enough about oozing over the weather conditions, but more about the racing we've got on track and the cars that are on track as well, of course, because Rob Burley's Ford Escort WRC certainly has served him well over the last few seasons and served him well for a long time. It's been through a couple of tough moments, where it's had a couple of incidents, but always been rebuilt and rebuilt back to its best, and looking forward to see if potentially, if he does compete in the 2 modified Ford race, provided he wins this race and then competes in the 2 modified Ford races tomorrow and happens to come through and win both of those, if then he actually goes on to pick up win number, potentially this weekend, there's a chance of win number 700, but that's if he contests the races that he's qualified for tomorrow. There's Nick Wall's Ford Fiesta, so his car is on the grid. As I say, I think the one or two cars we don't have, I think Steve Dan VW Scirocco is not on the grid there, as we see another fantastic low laying sunny shot. And then as they come through the distance, the pack behind the safety car, led by the runyourfeet.com Jaguar safety car, supplied to the BRSCC by their very valued partners at runyourfeet.com. Big thank you to them. Be sure to go and check them out at runyourfeet.com for any vehicle fleet management needs. And as part of the deal, they provide this brilliant Jaguar safety car that's been decked out in this wonderful livery in order to sport the club colours. So the cars now make their way up out of Brundle and Nelson and now into the bomb hole, and they start to form up 2 by 2 for the rolling start. So the combined grid here for the Classic and Modern Motorsport Club's Southern Divisions, Super Saloons and Tin Tops. So there's the little switch and saxo of Angelo Massanetto. It's quite diminutive, but it does still try its best. As we slowly move into focus to get this final race of Saturday underway here. So, as it was on the front row for the first race earlier on, is going to be Rob Burley and the BMW of Gavin Dunn alongside each other. Who's going to get the sprint off the line? Everyone formed up in 2 by 2 formation. Race 2 of the day for the CMMC Southern Super Saloons and Tin Tops, all set to get underway. Watch the red light on top of the marshal's box. It goes at any second. Now, and away we go. Top start again from Burley as he shoots away from pole position in the Escort. There was either contact or a slow starter, because there has been contact, I think, because that is Andrew Mackenzie's BMW that has damage to the right front. I think it's been clipped by the Nick Sutton Evo, because the Nick Sutton's Mitsubishi Evo was all out of shape on the run down the straight, and of course the piece of bodywork there was sticking up on the side of Andrew Mackenzie's car, so I'm confident that there's been a bit of side-to-side contact. Maybe Mackenzie misjudged the start a little bit, either that or Sutton misjudged the start a bit, or Mackenzie got a better start and there was contact as he moved out of the way. But even so, there's damage to the BMW. I think it's possibly, hopefully, cosmetic damage rather than anything mechanical, but the Evo continues on. So now there is Gavin Dunn's BMW under threat from Nick Sutton. That doesn't appear to be harmed either, so that carries on, and Mackenzie's car has got enough pace to try and pull its way through, to try and get back into third place if it can. There's Ronan Bradley's car, the white and green BMW. The Fairweather Sierra's up there in 6th position. Now they turn out to the left-hander at Hamilton, into Oggies again. They started the opening lap of this race, and I think the reason why you can't see Rob Burley is because he's pretty much gone already in this first opening lap. Through with the right-hander. He's not even in the bottom of the shot there as he came through. He's that far ahead. What's also interesting is that the piece of bodywork that was flapping on the front of the Andrew Mackenzie BMW has flattened down again back into position. So either it's just to be pushed itself back into place, I'm not sure. There's Rob Burley. Immediately pushing out. In fact, the piece of bodywork has flown off now, so I'll stop talking about bodywork on BMWs and get back to some actual racing, which is the scrap for second place between Gavin Dunn and Nick Sutton on this opening lap. So out of Brundle and Nelson, BMW versus Mitsubishi. That looks like Richardson and Charlton are battling over some tin top honours. Also got the 125 car on Wall. So Nick Wall there in the Fiesta ST150, battling away with the BMW. That was Jacques Whitehead's 330 Ci. As the leading cars make their way out of Murray's onto the pit straight for the end of the first lap, it is going to be Rob Burley who continues to lead in that ferociously fast, flame-spitting Ford Escort WRC. And there goes Nick Sutton with his high-powered machine. He charges past the BMW into second place at the expense of Gavin Dunn. And there were some laps, remember in race 1, whether it was back markers or not, I didn't quite know what the answer was, but Rob Burley's car did have on some laps, he would back off a little bit or have something which cost him a couple of seconds, about 2 minutes 8, 2 minutes 9, when his car could do faster lap times than that. And you saw in the first race that Gavin Dunn's BMW did get quite close in the end, but didn't quite get close enough to make the move stick, or to put a move on Rob, because he knew that the horsepower of that Escort WRC was simply just going to be way too much for the BMW. The BMW is no slow car in itself. Of course, the reason was it managed to pick up the second fastest time in qualifying overall, hence the front row start, and then the second place finish overall in race 1 earlier on this morning. It's just that Rob Burley's car just carries so much horsepower. There it goes. And Nick Sutton, who got quite a bit of power on his right foot as well in that four-wheel drive Evo 10. Continues on in third place, just keeping Sutton in touch. He might have a bit of an edge in the corners, whereas Sutton's car might be a bit more powerful in the straights. We saw it a little bit in the modified Ford Series race earlier on, where we had 2 Escort RSRs, and one appears to be a little bit stronger in the straights and one a bit stronger in the corners. So there's a possibility that it could be a similar scenario here. Looking now, this is the Sean Fairweather Ford Sierra at Cosworth, and he's under threat from the top tin top, which is Chris Bassett. If you've been watching the live stream coverage of the Super Saloons and tin tops for CMMC Southern back at Brands Hatch, which is their home circuit, you'll remember that the Chris Bassett car was running rings around some of the faster Super Saloon cars, where being on such a short circuit, 1.2 miles, the handling of the cars counts a little bit more than the straight line speed, whereas here, even though there are some quite quick cars here, Chris Bassett is trying to get past in the little Peugeot 306. It might be little, but it packs quite a punch, particularly even so on the straights. It's quite lightweight, and it's not slow in the straights. It doesn't have quite exactly the same horsepower as the Sierra, but it's not at least being not being completely dropped. It's still got quite a bit of punch in the straight line. There it is. So Martin Scott and Dave Charles are also in a scrap of their own. That's BMW versus Seat Leon. BMW M3 versus Seat Leon, which you might think is completely unheard of, but that's the beauty of a championship like this. Oh, Rob Burley's out! Oh, Rob Burley out of the race. More mechanical problems for the Escort WRC. That's a real shame. I was really, I think many were looking to see if he could possibly go towards win number 700, but I think hitting that tally, I'll have to wait another day, I'm afraid. So that means now that Nick Sutton takes over the lead here at Snetterton in the second CMMC Super Saloons race and tin tops. So Gavin Dunn second place and Andrew Mackenzie in third. There's Martin Scott battling with Dave Charlton. So, of course, Martin Scott's car being a Super Saloon, Dave Charlton's, of course, being a tin top. As they now turn their way out of the right hand. And this is the battle now, what's now become third and fourth overall, because now that Rob Burley's out of the race and has pulled the car up at the back of the paddock. That will be the case. Now, I think there's a penalty being applied to somebody here. There is a board being shown out on the marshal's post. I can see out of my commentary box window. I'm waiting for the race control message because I can't see. Right, car 67 is the number on the board. That's Andrew Mackenzie, and he's getting a time penalty for something. Whether it's 5 or 10, whether it's one way around or the other, I'll have to wait and see because I can't see if it's the same number on the side of the board. But the side of the board I'm looking at says 10-second penalty. So if it is a 10-second penalty, whether it's an out of position start, or I'll have to wait and see if it flashes up on the timing screen to see what the penalty exactly is for. We'll concentrate on that later when we get the information. Let's look back at the racing. So Sutton now has just lost the lead, what is now the lead, to Gavin Dunn. So Gavin, I think, was probably either biding his time or a little bit off the pace. And Sutton tries to close back in under braking. We could get a nice little battle here between these two. They're fairly evenly matched at some points. Lap time wise, the last lap for, well, the fastest lap of the race for Nick Sutton is a 2 minutes 8.295, whereas Gavin Dunn's is a 2 minute 9.488. So on pace, the Sutton Evo 10 is quicker than the Gavin Dunn BMW, but maybe Sutton didn't have all the pace he wanted in that first half, and he's going into the hairpin Agostini. Look as he cocks a wheel into the left-hander, the way the car's sort of quite stiffly sprung. And now down the outside he looks into the left-hander at Hamilton's. Can't quite make that move stick either. So Dunn remains in front. And again, I haven't had a message through from race control to say that someone's been given a time penalty. That there is a ball being handed out, and it's going to Andrew Mackenzie. But what time penalty he's been given, whether it is 10 seconds, it hasn't showed up on the timing screen, or whether it's a different time penalty with a different number on the other side, it's unbeknownst to me, unfortunately. So we'll have to wait and see what comes up. Back with our lead battle, and Nick Sutton glides his way through up the inside into Brundle, gets it stopped for Nelson, turns his way in, and the Evo's back into the lead, but the BMW will try and come back at him if he can. There's quite a bit of back and forth between these two. Again, he gets a good run off the corner, and he might look a little bit of straight line speed, but he looked a bit more confident going into Coram than the Evo did. Meanwhile, further back, we're looking at the Richardson Honda Civic. He's battling with Ken Angel. This is over, that will be for 9th and 10th position, and that's for 2nd and 3rd in the T1 class. So that is over a class position. Through goes Sutton and Dunn. Lap time wise, it was a new personal best for Sutton that time, 2 minutes 8.162 compared to 2 minutes 9.623. So Sutton was a full 1.5 seconds quicker than Gavin Dunn. Mackenzie's 3rd, but again, I suspect he has got a time penalty. Whether it is definitely 10 seconds or it's a different time penalty, he's got something, but what it is, I haven't quite figured it out yet, and it hasn't been applied to the timing screen either. So we'll wait and see if something does come up with that. Ronan Bradley's now 4th in his BMW E36. Bassett 5th now, as by far and away the top tin-top car once again in 5th position. Sean Fairweather is 6th. Actually, Bassett has not only passed Fairweather, he's pulled away from him by nearly 8 seconds. So Bassett really has got some pace in that Peugeot. Just 5.25 minutes to go left now in this second CMMC Southern Super Saloons and Tin Tops. As we mentioned, they mainly based in the southeast, so the championship is essentially a Brands Hatch based championship. From what I remember, it's a legacy of what used to be the BARC Southeastern Centre, but then they joined forces with Richard Culverhouse, or the Classic and Modern Motorsport Club, and through them they've managed to keep essentially the same collective of people going, and they will have another of their series championships out in force tomorrow, because they'll have the Intermark Silhouettes, which is essentially, if you know motorsport circuits, it's pretty much, if you ever watched National Hot Rods on short oval circuit racing, it's effectively short National Hot Rods with windscreens that run on long circuits. Now, I know I'm sure for anyone that runs short ovals is probably clawing at their screen thinking that's not exactly, there's not entirely all what it is, but so forgive the kind of the kind of very simple explanation of that, but I'm sure there's a bit more, a couple more added modifications and complexities to it. But essentially they are very much the same cars that you would find, or very similar at least to the cars you would find on the short ovals in National Hot Rods, and there's cars like Vauxhall Tigra and Mercedes SLK, there's a VW Corrado, there's even a couple of Silhouette Ginetta G40s as well, which have been taking, in terms of the body shape, the aerodynamic body shape by storm. So watch out for them tomorrow in the coverage if you can tune in. Here is still the battle between the Seat Leon of Dave Charlton and Martin Scott's BMW, and behind them another battle going on, Ken Angel versus Graham Richardson, forgive me. Graham Richardson So, and that's all 4. That's all on track together. So that's 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th all together. Here is the 223. That's Alex Baldwin, and he is in the Ford KA. I think that's possibly a Ford KA, which, as I mentioned earlier, I think that's from the Enduro KA series, or it's to Enduro KA spec. Just out there getting some track time. So through it goes, out of the hairpin, and now up towards the left-hander at Palmer. Meanwhile, Angel and Richardson still going at it for the T1 tin top podium places, 2nd and 3rd. And just ahead of them, there is the class. No, that's not the class leader. That's the. So yes, it is. So that is the class leader. Yes, Dave Charlton. I was thinking of Chris Bassett, but he's in a different class. He's in T2. So T1 is Dave Charlton, who is ahead of this Martin Scott Golf liveried BMW, or Golf coloured at least. And that car holding well, and I think any car that can hold its own against the BMW M3 like that is certainly worth its value. There's Angel, there's Richardson. And now the sprint towards Hamilton. And you can see up towards Oggy's now. 2 minutes to go, just under 2 minutes to go now in this second race for the Super Saloons and Tin Tops. And just checking in on the leaders, the gap is 2.6 seconds. Last time Brad Dunn did do a 2 minute 7.883. Nick Sutton did a 2 minute 6.532. That's his not his last lap, that's his best lap so far. So he has lowered the fastest lap time to a 2 minute 6.5. So he's looking pretty powerful. This is also scrapped for 3rd and 4th. Now, Andrew Mackenzie is still ahead of Ronan Bradley. Now remember, of course, again, we were trying to solve the mystery of Andrew Mackenzie getting potentially some kind of a penalty. Now, either that was just a warning, or simply that was a double-sided ball where that was a warning to Andrew Mackenzie saying you need to be careful, otherwise you are going to be penalised next time. Not entirely sure, because again, no penalty is applied on that, appeared on the timing screen. So either it was just a warning, or there is a penalty, but it hasn't been applied by TSL. So either way, Andrew Mackenzie either is in 3rd place, or he isn't in 3rd place in reality if he has a penalty, so we'll wait for that. Just looking at the bottom of Nick Sutton's car, and I was looking, unless it's just how it is, yeah, the exhaust at the bottom of Nick Sutton's car, I thought it was sitting low low to the ground. It's dragging on the ground and still spitting flames when it changes up through the gears. That could be potentially quite dangerous, I thought. Might be interesting. Well, it's quite late in the race to give him a black and orange flag, I think, truthfully. Because then he got really sort of potentially no more laps to go, so he's got a gap of 2.6 seconds. There's Sean Fairweather's Ford Sierra. We just saw a glimpse also before that of the back of a 3rd going on between Mackenzie and Bradley. Now there's how many seconds to go? There's about 8 seconds. I think he should be fine for this last lap. So the saving grace is that the clock's about to run down to 0, which it does any second now. So the checker flag will go out for the final race of the Saturday action here on this BRSCC race weekend at Snetterton. Oh no, it's not! Nick Sutton is in the pit lane on the last lap! Nick Sutton pulls in on the last lap, and Gavin Dunn wins race 2 for the Super Saloons. Oh, Nick Sutton loses it right on the last bit. Either he faltered because he didn't want to risk a penalty, or they just didn't want to damage the car, but either it was something that possibly caused him to stop. But Gavin Dunn sweeps past Nick Sutton on the run to the checkered flag and steals the victory. And through no fault of Nick Sutton's, when all he could do was try and bring the car home, and whether something faltered or something just didn't work properly, he just brought the car in and gave up the victory, which is gutting. So unfortunate for Nick Sutton. So Gavin Dunn then keeps out of trouble, and he's one of his 2 main contenders for the victory, both for, by the way, so he inherits it all by himself. So Gavin Dunn wins then, Ronan Bradley in 2nd place. Right now then, Andrew Mackenzie has had a 10-second penalty. Now, whether that was a jump start or I'm going to suspect it might be. There's no reason, but it might be a jump start because there was the contact member between himself and Nick Sutton, and Sutton had to swing out of the way in order to not hit him. So I think Mackenzie has made it possibly, again, don't quote me on this, but possibly made a jump start, and because of that, he then caught Nick Sutton off guard, and because of that, he had to try and swerve out of the way when Mackenzie was charging through. There was a bit of contact, and that's what caused the damage to Mackenzie's front right wing. And maybe because he was a bit of a jump start or a slightly out of position start, that's what got him the penalty. Either way, whatever the reason, it is a 10-second penalty for Andrew Mackenzie. It has been applied at the end of the race. So Bradley then picks up second place. It's then Mackenzie third. Chris Bassett is up to fourth after that. So fourth overall, and top finishing tin top again. So great effort from Chris Bassett in the potent Peugeot 306. It's then six. Nick Sutton he's classified sixth because he did cross the finish line in the pit lane. So he gave up the win but still finished sixth. Then Dave Charlton comes home in 7th place. 8th goes to Martin Scott. 9th to Ken Angel and 10th to Graham Richardson. Then Wall, Whitehead, Seal, Massanetto, and Baldwin. And the only car that we didn't get across the line, of course, was Rob Burley, who retired earlier on. I think, are we waiting for one more car? I think we are. Which is the BMW, which is of Jax Whitehead. That's the car third in Class D in the Super Saloon. So he'll head out the final corner. Up to the checkered flag. And he's the last one to cross the line. Here he comes. And he is home. Third place for Class D. So well done to him, which is great stuff. So, after what was a rather crazy finish and the perfect backdrop to look at the hopefully the results of the last race, here we go. So Gavin Dunn then, incredibly, takes the win on the last run to the line from Nick Sutton. He wins overall and wins his class. Ronan Bradley second. Andrew Mackenzie still wins his class with third despite the time penalty. Fourth for Chris Bassett, who's top 10 tops race. Sean Fairweather is fifth. Nick Sutton classified sixth ahead of Dave Charlton. Then Martin Scott, Ken Angel and Graham Richardson. But it's Nick Wall, Jack Whitehead and then Ian Seal, Angelo Massinetto and Alexander Baldwin all won their classes. Rob Burley sadly retiring and not getting win 698. Nick Sutton also takes away the fastest lap of the race. So with a perfect parting shot, thank you very much for everyone who's been watching today here, both on the BRSCC, Caterham live streams, and also on the Facebook pages of Formula 4, Classic and Modern Motorsport Club, and also, of course, Modified Fords. More action tomorrow. There's more Caterhams. We've got the championship decided for both Caterham Academy groups, and also with the second races for the Caterham Road Sports, 270s and 310Rs, plus the special end-of-season graduation race that is the Caterham Academy Autumn Trophy. There's more action for the Modified Fords, a title decided in the National Formula Fords Championship as well, plus 2 races from the CMMC Southern Intermark Silhouette, and the Club Sport Trophy race at the end of the day to round off what's been so far a fantastic weekend here at Snetterton in Norfolk. So, as the sun beautifully sets in the background, thank you for watching. From myself, Scott Woodwis, from Chris Buxton, from Chris Hutchinson, and all of us here on the Digitex team here at Snetterton and BRSCC. Thanks for watching. Tune in tomorrow morning for day 2 action here at BRSCC at Snetterton in Norfolk. But until then, take care and good night.